The final battle is upon us in this week's episode of Ushio and Tora. This episode right here is when you gotta start tossing all logic out the window and kick it in the balls, because a lot of crazy stuff happens in this episode right here, which is effectively a build-up to the final battle with Ushio, Tora, and the Hakumen no Mono. Not to mention, we got a lot of crazy cameos, seeing the dead actually come back to life, briefly though, in this week's episode. So, basically, everyone is trying their best to fight against the Hakumen no Mono, which is trapped within this barrier. So it tries this last-ditch move where it actually is able to shed its skin, which creates this giant poisonous cloud, which forces all of the monsters and the military to leave the battle, separating Ushio and Tora from all of their comrades so that they can have a 2-on-1 battle. But before we even get to that part of the battle, we get to see some great cameos, particularly the deceased fathers of both Reiko and Yu, who both return in some pretty ridiculous fashion. One, Reiko's dad is still absolutely horrifying with his oversized demonic arm, but it's when Yu's father actually emerged from Saya's portal where things got a little too ridiculous for me. Not only is he a ghost, but he's riding a giant ghost airplane. Not to be outdone by the other side characters of the series, we also get a great scene of Asako and her family, who, despite the fact that Japan is about to crumble underneath its own weight, they're still working hard to feed all of the people who are trying to evacuate from the island. And it's moments like these and moments with Ushio and Tora which fully solidify the true heart of this series, especially Ushio himself, who's one of the most enduring main protagonists I've seen in quite some time, who has a lot of really great dialogue in this episode, basically shouldering all of the evilness and taking it upon himself, as well as some help from Tora. It makes him a real stand-up guy, and of course this leads to the big confrontation with Hakumen no Mono, which, after shedding its layer of skin, it's actually a lot smaller, but it's just as dangerous. It actually combats Ushio and Tora by utilizing their very own abilities and using them against him. Two of its tails actually transform, one into this massive jagged spear, and the other one into this giant tornado of lightning, very similar to the attacks that both Ushio and Tora uses. Basically, it's doing this to sort of get into their head just a little bit, but you're not going to outdo Tora, who's just the master of insults, and he manages to get underneath the Hakumen no Mono's skin by saying, "Look, you're the one who's always looking up on us. We're the kings. You're the pawns. You're the one who is going down. We are constantly looking down on you, and that's because truly, Hakumen no Mono, you fear us. Count it." Unfortunately, before Ushio and Tora can drop the mic on Hakumen no Mono, this week's episode comes to a close. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Ushio and Tora? If I could describe this episode in one word, it would be heart. That's exactly what this one's all about. It's very cheesy. There's no getting around that, especially because everybody is just giving Ushio the ultimate pep talk. All of your journeys weren't for nothing. All of the friends and monsters that you've met on your journey are not frivolous people. They are actually stepping stones for you to becoming a better and stronger person. It's really damn cheesy, but honestly it works in a series like this, especially because Hakumen no Mono is just a completely evil type of villain. There is absolutely nothing redeeming about the qualities of the Hakumen no Mono, so it makes this victory seem all the more sweeter. And speaking of Hakumen no Mono, there's this part of the episode where things just start to get really weird, or even more weirder than usual, where all of the Azafuze armor, which is covering Tora, starts to transform into the forms of the Hakumen no Mono. Apparently that's what they will become, more Hakumen no Monos with extreme hatred for the original one, and they literally fly off of Tora's bodies like torpedoes and start to fly towards the Hakumen no Mono, some of them actually being able to pierce him, and you can tell this really gets underneath Hakumen no Mono's skin, again amplifying its fear of Ushio and Tora and the fact that they're not afraid of it. But here we are, we're almost there. Next week is going to be the final episode of the series, and I cannot wait to see how they're going to wrap up this final battle. I really hope they pour everything into the final episode. I would like to see some better animation. I would like to see a big finale, and of course we're going to have a nice little prologue for the series to see where the characters are going to be going in the future as they get away from the evil of the Hakumen no Mono. That being said, this was a pretty strong episode right here and a great build up to the finale with a lot of exciting moments, lots of return of some classic characters, some of which are frankly just kind of insane, but also playing to the strengths of Ushio and Tora. So I'm going to give this episode right here a 5 out of 5. I actually really did enjoy it. My only complaint pretty much stems from the complaint I've had from the rest of the series. I just wish sometimes the animation could be a little more fluid. That being said, the show's definitely got a lot of heart and it's worth seeing, especially if you're a fan of good classic monster shonen jump action anime series. So check it out, guys. You might see something you like. But if any of you did watch this week's episode of Ushio and Tora, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. I really appreciate it. If you would like to help support the channel, make sure to smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!